Zach, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
First and foremost, how did The Man of Steel come about?
The way the movie came about was I'd gotten a call from Christopher Nolan and his wife Emma to have my wife Debbie and I come over for lunch, and we kind of sat and talked about Superman. And in the end, they were like, listen, we have a script, and we're really interested in making this into a movie. Is it a thing you would be into? And I was like, yeah, I'm clearly from our conversation, you could tell I'm a pretty big fan, and it's a thing that I feel like does have potential to be awesome. But we'll read the script and see what we think. And I read the script, and I was like, wow, this is really quite interesting and cool and huge. And I guess my main nerves were just that because I was a fan, I wanted to make sure I could honor Superman in the way that I would want. Basically, could I make the movie that I'd want to see was really that's where it starts. And in the end, I thought, yeah, you know what? This is cool. If I don't do it, of course, someone else is going to do it, and then I'll be really mad if it's not good.
So you say yes. What's the first thing that you go do? Do you go hit up the comic book store?
Well, in my case, you just have to turn around and pull some comics off the shelves because it's not like that part's pretty easy. But I think the way I draw. So I just started drawing a bunch of. I started out with like just some keyframes. The way I like to draw like sort of the bigger moments, and then I go back and then just start at the beginning and draw every shot. But you get inspired, you're like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to see this, it'd be cool to see that. So I go through that whole process, and then, you start. Then you get your production designer, you get your costume designer, you just start to like build the building.
Yeah, sure.
Excellent. So you've done 300 and Watchmen. Were you like, dudes, I've got this, I know how to make a comic into a film, or did you feel pressure?
No, I definitely felt pressure. It was a different animal for me. The Superman is a different, because it's not a graphic novel. Watchmen and 300 are graphic novels, and so they're very, I don't know, like you just like a book, you'd know exactly what you wanted to do with it because you have all the words and you have the whole thing. You just have to sort of, like a prism, it just has to go through you and come back out. And this was a different thing, we really had to, take this mythological character and sort of create him again, make him live again. And I think the thing was, we really just said, okay, let's pretend like no movies have been made, and we're just making one for the first time.
Yeah.
And I think that was really the key, because I think that there'd been it was this fractured mythology that existed in the sort of movie world. You had, whether it be Smallville or all the different crazy movies and the animated series and just everything. It's like, you can imagine there's like a million different versions of Superman in media.
Yeah,
and we just said like, no, let's just pretend it's all nothing. And we found these comic books on the ground, and we're going to make them into a movie.
Yeah. One thing that I was really surprised about was just how much of planet Krypton, you put in the film. I mean, talk about the importance of that.
Yeah, I really wanted the contrast to be obvious that there was a other world that Superman came from, and I thought if you didn't do it in a real substantial way, that the audience really doesn't have that resonance ringing in their ear like the entire time that Superman was born on another planet. That's a thing that people forget. I think it's not really present in the mythology as it is in the comic book originally. It's very present. He's an alien. And I think that part of it, I really wanted to make sure people understood.
So the design of Krypton, of the technology and the costumes, it was amazing. It was flawless, I thought. Where did you draw your inspiration from?
The first sort of thing I talked about, in my early drawings, Haraka wasn't in the script, and I just added Haraka because I was like, there's certain things like that you just do in the drawings because you just go, oh, it'd be cool if you wrote on an animal, because to show that Jor-El is slightly more organic and a little bit more in touch with the natural world than, say, these other cats that he's fighting. But there's little things like that you do. A lot of it, there's a lot of Art Nouveau in it. There's a lot of... I was inspired by, I'm a big heavy metal magazine fan. I don't know if you know that illustrated fantasy magazine and the movie, the original movie. So there was some of that I thought was cool to stick in there. But yeah, a lot of that just comes from, just film fantasy reference that I have just jammed in my head somewhere.
Sure.
Awesome. And why did you think that Zod was the perfect villain for this film? Villain, sorry.
I felt like, and Zod embodied by Michael Shannon, who does, for me, like a fantastic job as Zod. But Zod, I thought, was really important because he represents really the conflict for Superman between the two worlds, between Krypton and Earth. And you have this character that sort of represents his past, especially as an adoption story. It's cool to bring up, that the whole other family part of it. I think is really fun.
And was there any pressure to go down the Lex Luthor path, or?
We had already by the time we got to the studio with the movie, we had already said, no, this is what we're gonna do, and they were pretty happy to have us carrying that much. I think at that point.
Awesome.
Hey, listen, I've got a bit of a confession as well. I went to the film, saw it. I cried from literally the first frame. That first scene of Kal-El being birthed till the end. I literally was crying like tears, proper man tears. Why do you think? I think for me a lot of that was the vulnerability of the character. Mm-hmm. But was that your intention?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I really wanted the movie to be. Look, I made it for myself, and I'm a fan, so everything was. I really wanted it to be just full of emotion, because I feel that way about it, So, I have such sort of respect for that mythology, the Superman mythology, that I just think that if any superhero movie can have some gravitas, I think it's a Superman movie, right? That's what it's about. So that was kind of the why of it. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'll be right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Have a
you
great
so
one.
much.
Thank you guys.